Hey guys, Mitch with Shock Therapy, and today we're going to be showing you how to install the dual rate spring kit on the Yamaha Wolverine RMAX. This spring kit's going to do multiple different things for you guys. Not only does it smooth out the chop and chatter and make your overall ride quality much better, it's also going to give you the extra ground clearance that you're looking for. Whether you're having a bunch of extra weight in the vehicle or no weight and you're looking for a smooth ride, this spring kit can accomplish that for you. This spring kit should take you about an hour or two to install, so let's jump on in. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. With both front and rear shocks removed from the vehicle, place the front shock into a spring compressor. Use a flathead screwdriver to lower the bump stop a couple of inches, compress the springs, and remove the factory lower spring retainer, followed by the lower spring, the factory divider, and the upper spring. Loosen the preload collar to begin setting your starting point measurement. Your starting point measurement for the preload setting is going to be 4.5 inches. Using a hammer and a flathead, loosen the factory crossovers to begin setting the crossover measurement. This measurement is going to be set at 7.5 inches. Make sure to retighten the factory crossover. Install the new upper spring, making sure that the logo is facing down, followed by the plastic divider, and then the lower spring. Make sure that you clock both spring ends 180 degrees apart from each other. Slowly compress the spring system and reinstall the factory lower spring retainer. Carefully release the spring tension and remove the shock from the spring compressor. Repeat this step on the opposite front shock. Place the rear shock into a spring compressor to make sure that you lower the bump stop and slowly compress the springs. Remove the factory spring retainer, the lower spring, the plastic divider, and the upper spring. Begin setting the starting point measurement for your preload and crossover. The preload measurement is going to be set at 1 inch. Next, set your starting point measurement on the crossover to 3 inches. Make sure that you tighten down the factory crossover and the factory preload nut. Install the new upper spring, making sure that the logo on the spring is facing upside down. Next, install the factory divider, making sure that the long side of the divider is facing the crossover. Install the new lower spring, making sure that both spring ends are 180 degrees apart from each other. Compress the spring system carefully and reinstall the factory lower spring retainer. Remove the shock from the spring compressor and repeat this step on the opposite rear shock. Begin installing the rear passenger side shock. Make sure that the reservoir of the shock is facing the front of the vehicle. Install the factory upper hardware, followed by the nut on the backside. Install the lower hardware, followed by the nut on the backside, making sure to leave all hardware loose at this time. Repeat this step on the opposite side. With the rear shocks installed, you can now lower the vehicle back onto the ground. Jack the front of the vehicle up to begin installing both front shocks. The front shocks are not side specific, so it does not matter which side they go on. Followed by the upper hardware, finishing with the lower, making sure that you leave all the hardware loose at this time. Repeat this step on the opposite side. With both front shocks installed, you can now remove the jack stands and lower the vehicle back onto the ground. With a designated driver, make sure that you drive the vehicle back and forth a couple of times, hitting the brakes to settle the suspension. On the final drive, make sure that you come to a coasting stop without hitting the brakes to get your proper ride height measurements. Starting with the front, this measurement should be set at 15 inches and is taken from the lower control arm tab closest to the firewall. Next, measure the rear ride height at the bottom of the frame where the control arm meets the tab. This measurement should be set at 14.5 inches. With your ride height measurements achieved, you can now begin checking the crossover gap measurement. The rear should be set at 1.5 inches. The front crossover measurement should be set at 2 inches from the bottom of the crossover to the top of the plastic divider. With your ride height and crossover measurements achieved, you can now begin tightening down the front shocks of the vehicle, starting with the upper hardware, finishing with the lower hardware, and repeat this step on the opposite front shock. Next, tighten down the rear shock hardware, starting with the upper, finishing with the lower, and repeat this step on the opposite side, and your installation is complete. We hope that this video helped you guys with the installation of your spring kit at home. The most important thing that we recommend you guys do is after the first 300 to 400 miles, recheck the ride height. This means that the springs have taken their initial set, and you should always make sure that your ride heights are set to that targeted number. All of our spring kits are made in the USA, and they do carry a lifetime warranty. If you'd like to order this spring kit specifically, feel free to visit the website at www.shocktherapyusa.com. If you have any questions about this install or any other products that we offer, feel free to reach out to the shop at 623-217-4959. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell to be notified anytime that we post a new video.